Hello, and welcome to this episode. In this video, we're going to talk about how you could divide a decimal number by another decimal number. Now, in particular, we're going to talk about two problems. So I'm going to put it on the side. Number one problem would be 0.75 divided by 0.25. And we want to know the answer. Now this is basically asking you how many times does 0.25 go into 0.75. Now the second problem would be the same thing except the places are different for the numbers. So number 2 is asking you this 0.25 divided by 0.75, and we want to know the answer. Now this one is a bit tricky because it's asking you how many times does 0.75 go into 0.25. Now it is better to give ourselves a reminder that all these numbers, for example 0.25, are into their hundredths. So this is 100. This is the 10th, and these are in place value term. And this is into ones. And the numbers are into decimal placement. So because it has two numbers after or before the decimals on this side, to the right of the decimal there are two numbers, so it's into two decimal places. Now it is at this point, before I go into how to solve them, it is better to do it yourself. Pause the video and try it. At least try one of them to see if you could get it. And it's okay to make mistakes. And after you've done that, come back to the video. If you got it right, then you could see a different ways of doing it. If you had some mistakes, you could find out where you went wrong and improve on it. Okay? So we are going to talk about number 1. So basically saying 0.75 divided by 0.25. And we want to know the answer for this. Now these are all also a rational number. Basically 0.75 is equivalent to 3/4, and 0.25 is equivalent to a quarter, 1/4. Now you could see it another way. This is just one way to reminding you what it means of having 0.75 divided by 0.25. There's also another way, is that to give it some meaning, to give it some unit so you could convert it to a whole number. Our number one priority over here to make this a whole number so you could divide it easier. Whole number includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and includes 0 as well. So whole number 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. It's just a number. No decimals, no fractions. Okay? Now, when we come back to the units, so if you look at your ruler, we're going to use your ruler as an example. So we're going to say 0.75 meters divided by 0.25 meters. Go ahead and look at your ruler and to see if you could find out what is an equivalent of 0.75 meters into centimeter. I'm going to put the answer that we don't know as an X, or you could put any other letters because we don't know what it is yet. So if I convert this, this would become 75 centimeters divided by 0.25 25 centimeters, which is equals to x. We don't know the answer yet. Okay. Now, what did we do over here that was different? Like, what did we do to get to 75? Well, we basically multiplied the top by 100. And then we did the same thing to 0.25, and we got 25 centimeters. Okay? Now, after we get this, now we have both numbers in a whole number. Now, we're going to set up our long divisions now. So 75 goes over here, 25. So 25 is a divisor, 75 is a dividend. So, and then we're going to ask ourselves, how many times does 25 goes to 7? So the answer is 0. How many times does 25 go into 75? Well, let's try this. Let's see, let's find this out by trial and error, okay? So if I have 2 over here, multiply 2, and I have 25 times 3. So if I do the 2, it would be 2 times 5 is 10. This will give me 50. If it's a 3, it will give me 75. And this is the number that I need, right? So I'm going to put 375, and I have 0 as a remainder. Therefore, now this is a sign of therefore. 2 dots on the bottom, 1 dot above, and means therefore. So therefore, the answer to this is 3.00, since we have 2 decimal places. Okay? Now, what if you weren't comfortable with converting this? Well, we're still going to use the same principle of getting this into a whole number. But first, we're going to put this in a proper division format. So, again, with the decimal point, like decimal number itself, themselves. So we're going to put 0.75 over here, 0.25 over here. Now, again, in order to make this a whole number, we're going to multiply these two numbers individually by 100, right? Same thing as we did over here. So let me just get the color. Okay, so if I multiply this by 100, I'm moving the decimal points 2 decimal places to the right, and the same thing for 0.75. Now, when I do this, I gotta be sure that I'm doing the same thing to both numbers. Otherwise, it's not going to be right, and the whole thing would be wrong. So, in this scenario, basically, I'm moving the decimal point to over here, to where I moved it by multiplying it by 100, right? And I'm going to do something else. I'm going to put the decimal point that I got above the division line as well, okay? So in a way, this becomes my line, okay? Now, I'm going to rewrite this again just for make it sing and be clear. So this part would be 25, this part would be 75, and I have the decimal point over here, and I have the decimal point over there, right? Now, I'm going to say how many times does 25 goes into 7? The answer is 0. How many times does 25 goes to 75? Well, we already got it over on this side. We know it's 3, so we're going to put the 3 in, and the answer would be 0. Sorry, the remainder would be 0 for this, but the answer itself, when we have the x, so therefore x equals 3.00. So you see, whatever we did over here, we get the same answer as over here. Just the way that you do it. One way is to give it a meaning. Other one to actually doing it by multiplying, making it whole number, just doing it in algebraic way. Now, let's move on to number 2. Now, what was number 2? Do you remember? Well, it was 0.25 divided by 0.75. And again, we're going to say the answer equals to y. We don't know y is. Y is the answer, but we still don't know, right? So, if I use the second strategy to put this in a proper long division, so I'm going to say 0.75 on this side, 0.25. So I have my divisor over here and dividend over here. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Going to multiply it by 100, the decimal point. So this will become 25. Decimal over here, and 75. And we always like to the right place of the decimal. It could be zeros too, because 25 basically means 25.00000, and so on. So it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to, for simplicity, for this strategy, I'm going to put 2 zeros over there. Now, I'm going to say we're going to do the process. So how many times does 75 go into 2? Well, it would be 0, right? Now, how many times does 75 go into 25? Again, it would be 0. So if I was 0, 0, and the answer, the remainder of that would be 25. Now, I reached my decimal point. So I could bring 1 0 down. So I put a 0 over here, right? Now I could use 75 into 250 because 250 is larger than 75. So in a way, look on this side, 75 is smaller than 250. Now I need to know how many times does 75 go into 250. I could do this by trial and error. We don't want to use a calculator at this point. We want to use our, to give some exercise to our brain, right? So let's start with, 2. So 75 times 2, and then we're going to try the other one, which is 75 times 3, and let's do another one, 75 times 4. Now, let's do this. 2 times 5 would be 10. So I put the 1 over here, the 10 over there. 2 times 7, 14 plus 1 would be 15. So if we say 75 goes into twice into this number, would be wrong because we still don't have enough number. It would be right, but it's not close enough. I guess we could go higher. So let's try the 3. So 3 times 5, 15. So 1 on the side. 3 times 7, 21 plus 1, 22. So this would be 225. It's much closer to 150. Let's try the, if we say it goes into 4 times, let's see the answer. So let's see. 4 times 5, 20, 2 on the side. 4 times 7, 28. This becomes 28 plus 2 becomes 30. So the answer would be 300. Now, let's look at this. So 150 is too small for 250. 225 is a bit close, but not to 250 exact. 200 is over. So I'm going to take 3. So I'm going to put after the decimal place 3, and this would be 220 what? 5. That's right. So I'm going to put 225. Now, this is a simple subtraction. So 5. Take a moment and guess what would be the answer. When you subtract 250, so I'm going to say it would be 25. Again, 25 is smaller. I'm after the decimal, so I'm going to bring one more 0. Now, do you see what is happening over here? I'm getting the same number over here as I did over here. So I'm assuming the number is going to repeat itself. And you could try it out, and it will. Now, my answer over here would be y would be equals to 0.33. Now I'm going to put this line out above it because it's going to repeat. You could check it now with your calculator. That the answer for this would be 0.3333 and so on. And basically this resembles this line over here is a repeating line. It resembles that the number is repeating. Now the thing you could use is just symbol, just for your information, is 2 dots below, 1 dot above. That means therefore. So math has its own language. It would be therefore y equals 0.33. Okay. Now, these are all the ways to do it, different ways of doing it. And it's easy. Just take your time and don't be afraid to make mistakes. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I will try to post another videos on mathematics later on. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.